Okay, so welcome back to another episode of this 8 videos long squad analysis series. And once again, I'm joined by Mr. Charbel Coorey, the owner of CricBlog. So thank you once again for joining. And in the last video, it's my pleasure again. And yeah, in the last video, we talked about the perennial underperformers, the hilarious Royal Challengers Bangalore. And in this video, we shall be talking about the inaugural champions, the Rajasthan Royals. So jumping into the video, talking about how they went about their auction proceedings, I felt that Rajasthan was probably the most confused team at the auction. What do you reckon about it?
Yeah, I think they're sort of in a position where they want to build on their Indian core a little bit more. They've got a good set of overseas players, but they just want to build on that core a little bit better because they've been sort of in and around the playoff mix in the last couple of seasons in particular, but have just fallen short. So I think the focus for them was trying to really build on that Indian core, like adding the experience of Robin Uthappa there, but then also adding some youth there as well. So I think the big key for them is if their auction is vindicated, it's how well those players can support their overseas stars. That's the big challenge for them.
Absolutely. They got what arguably is three of the most exciting prospects in the Indian domestic circuit. They got Kartik Tyagi, who is fantastic with the new ball. He bowls those Yorkers, the in-swinging Yorker. He has pace and he hits the bat. That is something which, is a very good quality, especially in these young pacers. He hits the bat, hit the deck bowler, he can swing the ball. They got Akash Singh, who also gets pretty decent shape, and he is accurate as well. And they also got Yashasvi Jaiswal, who is good against spin, and he has a very strong base against pace bowling, better than that of Devdutt Padikkal. So these three are very, very, very fine acquisitions to their squad. And as you mentioned, they got the experience of Robin Uthappa. But the three players whom I cannot make out why did they get them is O'Shane Thomas. No, not O'Shane Thomas. I mean to say Tom Curran and Andrew Tye. These two, because you already have Jofra Archer, and if Archer plays, nobody else plays. You've got Andrew Tye, you've got Tom Curran, O'Shane Thomas. They have wasted so many overseas spots, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a weird one because they often lose their England players right towards the back end of the season. So to pick Tom Curran, who was probably also going to be leaving for England towards the back end of the season as well, was an interesting one. Andrew Tye was also an interesting one too because he was leading wicket taker in 2018, but he hasn't been the same bowler since, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I think, like the bowlers from Sunrisers, they focus a lot on the knuckleballs and the slower balls. I think Andrew Tye has fallen in that same, he's fallen into that same trap where moved away from the Yorker, has moved away from what works well at the death and tried an overload on slower balls. So it'll be interesting to see. Going back to your point, I think it'll probably be Archer, and you have a lot of those Indian seamers and spinners. Where do the other two fit? It is a long season. Maybe they can contribute as the season goes along, but where they fit will be the big question there.
Yep. The point that I was trying to make is that each and every overseas slot is quite important. And
Absolutely.
Rajasthan, they have wasted them, in my opinion, because when Archer plays, nobody else plays. That's for certain.
Yeah,
because
Stokes,
you already have
Stokes, Smith, and Butler set. Yeah,
and then Jofra Archer plays. So
that's right.
I felt that Rajasthan was amongst the poorest sides in the auction. No offense to the Rajasthan Royals fans, but I don't know what were they thinking about. And they're playing 11. Rajasthan, I don't know. This season they aren't giving me confidence.
Yeah,
it's just pretty weird, to be honest. You have Butler opening the innings, maybe with Yashasvi Jaiswal. That's a decent opening combination. At number 3, you have got Steve Smith, then Sanju Samson, then you've got Ben Stokes, Riyan Parag. I feel lower middle.
So would you play Uthappa?
Maybe you can go with Robin Uthappa, but I went with Yashasvi simply because, number 1, the left-right opening combination, and he's an exciting prospect. He might come as a surprise to many teams. That's one reason why I've gone with Yashasvi Jaiswal. And coming back to their lower middle order, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence, because Ben Stokes for Rajasthan Royals has been pretty much like Stuart Binney.
I think that's the key. It's Ben Stokes, how well he can perform this season.
Absolutely.
Of course, everyone knows of his ability, but I don't think he's quite cracked the T20 format, even on an international level. His numbers and his performances are not reflective of the quality of the player that he is. So, going to your point, if Rajasthan are going to do well in that middle order, Stokes has got to be that linchpin, because Butler's crucial at the top. He's got the likes of Latapa if he's going to play, and Smith and Sampson. They're all, maybe Sampson to a lesser extent, but they're more accumulators. So Butler's crucial at the top, and then Stokes to finish well or to get the team into a good position, crucial. He's got a massive role to play this year, Stokes, if they're going to do well, in my opinion.
Very crucial. And then you also have Riyan Parag. And ideally, if you ask me, Ben Stokes and Riyan Parag, they shall be batting a slot higher up the order. Not at 5 and 6, maybe at 4 and 5. So, I feel that many players in that Rajasthan team are somewhat out of position. Maybe one slot up or one slot down. That's one thing that I really, it just does not give me a lot of confidence, Rajasthan Royals, this season. Steve Smith, he might come well in UAE because he plays spin very well.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to how Steve Smith performs. And their bowling unit, you've got Shreyas Gopal, you've got Jofra Archer, Kartik Tyagi, and Jaydev Unadkat. Again, the Rajasthan Royals have got back Jaydev Unadkat. And now, since the IPL is in UAE, I feel that Jaydev Unadkat might be a bit better than how he has been in the past 2 editions of the IPL.
Yeah, another one that's interesting as well is David Miller.
Miller, yep.
Where do Rajasthan fit him? Can he sort of overcome the disappointment that's plagued him over the last couple of seasons in the middle order? Again, what sort of plans do Rajasthan have outside of their 4 core overseas players? I think that's a question. In terms of their bowling attack, I think they've got a decent mix of youth and experience. I think Shreyas Gopal is an excellent bowler. I think very underrated. But I think in terms of maybe variation or variety in their attack, are they a bit too one-dimensional potentially? Just have to wait and see how they go in those conditions. So I think a lot depends on their bowling attack, as well as how well they can support Smith in terms of trying to get to those bigger totals rather than those middling totals.
Absolutely. Coming back to David Miller, I feel that Miller is just a backup option in the team, either for Ben Stokes or for Steve Smith. As you said, these English players, they might just go off towards the end of the tournament. So maybe David Miller.
I think this time it'll be the start of the tournament potentially. If England and Australia are playing in September, then the IPL begins around that time. You're going to have to look to those overseas players to step up for you, even though Tom Curran won't be available. The likes of David Miller will be absolutely crucial to Rajasthan, because you won't have Butler, you won't have Stokes, you won't have Steve Smith. That's going to be a massive challenge for Rajasthan in terms of the Indian core stepping up in that period and making sure they can start well in the tournament, because if they start poorly, they've got to play a little bit of catch-up, I think, which has been the case over the last season or 2. So they need to start well, and that's crucial.
Absolutely. Talking about the strengths, obviously, you've got 2 of the finest overseas players. You've got Jos Buttler, Jofra Archer, and as mentioned, Steve Smith might come well in UAE. Definitely better than, I feel, what he might have come in India. So you've got, that's a strength in my opinion. Those 3 overseas players, and Ben Stokes, I'm not so sure about him at number 5 in T20 cricket. He's a quality player. He has, everything that you want in him. He can bowl those overs, unbelievable fielder. We know what he can do with the bat, but he hasn't cracked T20 cricket, as you mentioned. And I've got to start about Ben Stokes over here, that since 2018, after the power play in the IPL, of course, he averages just about 17.75 at a strike rate of 124.
No, he hasn't cracked it. No, he hasn't.
Exactly.
But what Rajasthan will be hoping is that the incredible performances of Stokes across formats, particularly in Test cricket for England and also in the World Cup last year, he can sort of carry that confidence and momentum. Because since the last IPL, he's been absolutely incredible for them. So if he's in the mood and he can nail the 2020 format, I think that Rajasthan have a great difference or point of difference in the middle order with Ben Stokes as well as those overs. I think Steve Smith has taken his white ball game to another level. Last year in the T20 format for Australia, he was very, very good. And very solid in one-day cricket. He can turn the strike over, which is very important in the UAE, but it's important who at the other end is going to make sure that the scoreboard is going to be really ticking over so that they can get to those 160 plus, 170 plus, which is important over there in the UAE, and give their bowlers something to bowl at regularly.
Yes, and one thing where I feel that they don't really, they aren't the best at is the lack of finishers, because again, if Ben Stokes comes good, then it's nothing like it. But if Ben Stokes once again fails to deliver, Riyan Parag definitely is not somebody whom I would look at as a finisher. And then at number 7 you have Shreyas Gopal, and that baffles me. Why did they leave Krishnappa Gautam? He was their primary finisher, and he has finished games for the Rajasthan Royals in the previous editions of the IPL.
Yeah.
So they left Gautam. That baffles me, and that kind of weakens that number 7 spot a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think good point there, because I think the overall strategy requires some very crucial performances from key players. If those key players don't step up, then Rajasthan might be in a little bit of trouble. So we'll have to wait and see how they go there.
Yep. Also, they have, they lack some depth in the spin bowling. They have Shreyas Gopal, they have Mayank Markande. I guess they have another spinner here and there, but they lack some depth in the spin bowling. And also, Sanju Samson is the biggest Indian name in that squad. So they lack, those big Indian names. They let go of Ajinkya Rahane, and Sanju Samson, as I said, he is the biggest Indian name in that squad. So a few weak points for Rajasthan over there. And as mentioned, if Ben Stokes comes good, then nothing like it. But if he does not, this team might struggle a lot, in my opinion, because he is the one who, he balances the entire team.
Agreed. Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree, because it comes down to, again, what I was saying earlier. So much rests on Stokes, right?
Exactly.
And leaving Krishnappa out, it's just like, where do Rajasthan see themselves this year? Can they get what they desire out of these key players? If they can, then they'll definitely be fighting for a spot. But it'll be very interesting. It's a team I'll definitely be keeping an eye out in the IPL this season, because I just want to see how they get their team balance right, whether they persist with their plays if things go wrong, and then whether they can put a few wins together.
Yes, in my opinion, looking at the quality of the opposition teams in the IPL, I guess Rajasthan Royals, they have quite less chances of making it through. But again, if Ben Stokes, if he becomes a Superman, then he can literally do anything. We have seen it, the 2019 World Cup final, that Headingley East. So it all depends upon Ben Stokes. If he comes good, Rajasthan might even sail through to the playoffs. The quality of Butler, and then Sanju Samson is a very, very fine Indian player. So
great.
They have some good batters, and if Ben Stokes steps up, if the bowling unit just steps up a bit, they might even sail through to the playoffs. But again, it relies upon Ben Stokes, and if he fails,
I think the top order as well relies significantly on Butler. Can he get those quick starts, because they've got those few little accumulators there. You need that fast start. And Butler's very, very capable of doing that. He's capable of batting through as well. I think if he does that a few times, that's huge, because how many not outs did he have when he first went to opener? Was it IPL 2018 when they shifted him from the middle order to opener? He had all those not outs. If he can have a couple of those innings where he can bat through, that'll hold Rajasthan in good stead as well.
Exactly. It kind of boils down upon how their overseas players perform at the end of the day. They have quality overseas players, and they have tried to create a team around those 4 overseas players. And if those 4 can step up, I believe that the rest of the team also will, somehow just step up, and they might even sail through to the playoffs. But just looking at them on paper, I feel that they must really punch above their weight, given the quality of the other oppositions in the tournament. They must
Yeah.
punch above their weight, and yeah, that's how they can make it through to the playoffs. And as you said, they will be a team to keep an eye upon.
Yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's the competitiveness of the IPL and how many teams
Yes.
can potentially make the playoffs. But last couple of seasons, I've sort of felt the same way as you regarding Rajasthan. And are they a little bit short in key areas? But they've always been fighting.
Yes.
I expect them to be fighting again and get thereabouts and be in contention towards the back end of the season for a playoff spot. But in terms of sailing through, I don't think they'll sail through. But I think they'll be thereabouts towards the back end, competing for a spot. Because I think they've got some things going for them.
Yep.
But they just need everything to click into gear and put some wins together.
Yep. If everything clicks together, and then this team might just do very well. Interesting team, to be honest, Rajasthan Royals. So I guess anything else you would like to add about this team?
No, I think we've covered. The key parts. I think if the youth can sort of work off the overseas players, if the overseas players can step up, and then the youth get a big shot of confidence from that. I think that's a real potential positive for them. But I think importantly they need to start the season well, because they might not have their overseas players. They don't want a situation where their overseas players come in and they have to perform straight away because they're falling behind. I think they need to start well. If they can, then, if they can stay in touch with the top four early on, you never know what can happen.
Absolutely. I agree with you over there. And right, I feel that was it for the Rajasthan Royals, our analysis upon, the inaugural champions, Rajasthan Royals. Halla Bol, will they Halla Bol this season? We have to wait and watch. Right, so this was our analysis upon the Rajasthan Royals, and subscribe, hit the bell icon. I'll link CricBlog TV in the description below. Check out CricBlog TV as well, and subscribe to CricBlog TV as well. And in the next video, we shall be covering the Kings 11 Punjab. So thank you for watching.